Hey, you're listening to Stop the Scroll, a social media marketing podcast, and I'm your host, Heidi Schmidt. I'm a social media strategist and agency owner with over 15 years of marketing experiences helping businesses grow online. We'll be diving into what you need to know so that you can show up confidently online without the overwhelm. Get your notebook ready to jot down some amazing marketing gems, and let's dive into it. Welcome back to another episode of Stop the Scroll. And today, I had this whole plan for this episode, and then just some conversations that I've been having recently inspired something completely different. So don't worry, you'll get what I originally was going to talk about, which is content batching in a week or two. Who knows, whenever I'll record it. But today, I wanted to talk about LinkedIn. And so many of my clients are so focused on Facebook and Instagram, but personally, I love LinkedIn. There are so many things about LinkedIn that us as service providers, I'm assuming that most of my audience, y'all listening, are service providers in some way, shape, or form, that we forget about LinkedIn. And here is the thing. LinkedIn has so much potential. First of all, let's just talk some stats about LinkedIn. LinkedIn has over 1 billion users. So it's up there. It's one of the top 3, top 5 social media platforms. Less than 1% of them post regularly, meaning there's a lot less competition for your organic reach. It also means that our posts tend to have a little bit of a longer shelf life than on Facebook or Instagram. ChatGPT, when I did some research planning this episode, told me that sometimes it's up to a week, which I agree. I definitely see posts that are a little bit older when I pop onto LinkedIn. And engagement overall on the platform is up 40%, year over year. So engagement is growing. I personally kind of think that a lot of that is from the anti-meta sentiment as of late, but I could be wrong. We know that there's their content landscape just isn't as oversaturated. And so talking about the average LinkedIn post typically receives 10 to 15 engagements, which is up from the previous year. And we know that the platform, I was actually talking with someone about this recently, how a client of mine was asking, and I had a content shoot with them recently. They were like, we want to do more video. How do we really do it well? And I'm like, well, here's the thing. We know that video is increasing on LinkedIn. I don't think it's at the level that Instagram or Facebook or, more video-centric platforms are at. However, Instagram has seen an almost 50% increase in video uploads year over year. They now have a video-specific feed, and they are seeing that videos are generating 1.5 times more engagement than other content types. What types of video do you need to be posting on there? I mean, that could probably be its own episode all on its own. But there's a little bit, it's like I told my client, you have to look at your competition. And if video on LinkedIn is new for you, it's a great opportunity to experiment to see what your audience engages with. Any time that we are changing up our content format, we want to look at what's garnering engagement and overall the type of results that we're looking for. We don't necessarily have control over views or engagement or anything like that. But if we're investing time into video, you want to make sure that that video content is resonating with your audience, right? So anytime you're starting any new platform strategy, focus on 2 to 3 times a week. Mix up your content types. LinkedIn has fun kind of PDF carousels, and some people have them, some people don't. I've been kind of experimenting with them with my clients and with myself. Carousels and video across every social media platform always times a million perform better. Straight up, incorporate video. If you're saying, hey, I want to start building my profile on LinkedIn, add in 1 to 2 videos a week and see what sticks. Say, I'm going to post 2 to 3 times a week. At least 1 of those, 2 of those is going to be video content. See what sticks. See what your audience engages with. We also know that we should be on LinkedIn because our audiences are there, especially if you're in the B2B space, but even if you're in the B2C space, even if you're a business to consumer person, professionals are on LinkedIn. When we create any strategy, we always think about who our audience is and what do they need from us. We know that the LinkedIn user base is predominantly composed of professionals in key decision-making roles. About 50% of the users are between 25 and 34, which, actually, no, I'd say between like 25 and 44. I could be wrong. These numbers might be old. I don't know. But we are seeing that younger I call them Zoomers, Gen Z who's entering the workforce, they're definitely on LinkedIn. And obviously the millennials, which is like 35 to 45, maybe even a little bit older, like 45 to like 30. They're definitely on LinkedIn. And a lot of those, especially the elder millennials, are more and more in those leadership decision-making roles. In addition, like entrepreneurs are there because they're trying to connect with those professionals who want to work with them. Like I'm there because I'm a marketer and I want to work with businesses who care about their marketing. And quite honestly, the businesses who care about their marketing are on LinkedIn because they make more money. So 100% I try to post on LinkedIn, especially like when it comes to like what kind of content should you be posting on LinkedIn. It's funny because I was in a mastermind and we were talking about like thought leadership and how thought leadership feels kind of icky, which to some people does. Like it feels a little overused. But when we think about like what thought leadership content is, because that's the content that really, really performs on LinkedIn, we know that great content lives at the intersection, and it's a little Venn diagram. And I saw this on social media today. Great content is the intersection of what your audience needs, your expertise, and your unique perspective. What differentiates you and what's authentic to you? That little Venn diagram of those three circles, that's the great content that you want to be sharing on LinkedIn. And now if you have a team, like 100%, it's funny because I was just in a discovery meeting the other day about, hey, our goal is to get more clients and to get more employees. If you want more employees, if that is a part of your marketing strategy for your business because you know that you need people to grow, you need to be showing those employees off. They need to be a part of your marketing strategy. So 100%. And we can talk a little bit. I feel a little all over the place here, whatever. We're not diving so much into actual LinkedIn content today because, again, that's a whole other thing. This is just like why we need to be there. We know that LinkedIn is that platform I find it to be more like less salesy than some of the other platforms. And some people might disagree. One, people just straight up don't engage with salesy content. And I know that there's like the LinkedIn Connect, like paid advertising that you can do, the brand awareness advertising that you can do on there. But people are much differently than Meta platforms or TikTok or YouTube. Like people are looking for knowledge. Now, yes, people look for knowledge on YouTube. Absolutely. Everyone's an expert in everything because YouTube said so. But LinkedIn specifically, when it comes to marketing content, marketing yourself and your business, people are looking for expertise. They're not just looking for entertainment. They're not just looking to stop the scroll. So that's where like that educational content, behind the scenes, business thoughts, the insights, all that kind of stuff, that's where it positions you as a leader in your space. And that's where the connections happen, and that's where the magic happens. We know that connections equal engagement equal blah, 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 business growth. LinkedIn also has, LinkedIn articles and LinkedIn newsletters that help build that deeper engagement on your profile. I'm not an expert in those. However, I am happy to do some research if y'all want to learn more. But there are certainly ways to use the platform to, one, expand your reach and build that deeper engagement. Another reason why we should all be on LinkedIn is we know that LinkedIn helps with Google search and SEO, as any social media platform does, because social media platforms are highly trusted by Google. Your profile is going to rank highly on Google. When people search your name, when people search your business, like that's just a fact of life. It's funny because I have a client who has really been like diving into their SEO and everything. But their business page, when you search for their company, their website is number one, their business profile on LinkedIn is number two, and their Facebook page is number three. Now, I will say, and this is where like I kind of get a little passionate about LinkedIn because I've seen the transformation that it can have on businesses. Like I have one business, they're a smaller government contractor. And it's funny because my client sometimes gets in her head and she doesn't always see the big wins. And it was a couple of years ago and, we're between like 1,000 and 2,000 followers. And for like a 20 to 30 person company, that's a BFD. I think like you're building your brand awareness. And, with a lot of government contractors, you can't necessarily talk about what they do and the amazing work that they're doing. That's mission driven, mission focused, all that kind of fun stuff. But I had to remind her that, homegirl, when I started working with you, I want to say it was like maybe 2021, maybe 2022, you had 6 employees. Now you're at nearly 30. That's some growth. And it's not just LinkedIn, obviously. She's out there like hustling, building opportunities, all that kind of fun stuff. But she has certainly had employees say to her, "Oh yeah, I saw your LinkedIn page. It looked great. That's why I took your offer." Like brand awareness, we sometimes discredit brand awareness in our marketing strategy. But when you have that brand awareness and that credibility and, oh, look, they're showing up consistently. Look, they're doing all these great things. Like that can be a differentiator for some people. And if you have a professional audience, like if you're working with professional women business owners as a coach, like your audience is on LinkedIn. I have to share this because it was so touching to me. I got this email from a client recently, and it's funny because I was talking with my business coach a couple days ago, and I was like, nearly in tears being like, I want to blow this whole thing up and just feeling all of the imposter syndrome, which, because there are marketing gurus everywhere on Instagram that have 10 times more followers than me, sometimes like it's really hard not to get in your own head. Then I was telling her about this email and I read it to her and she was like, why aren't you like bragging about that? I'm like, so this is a client that mainly what we do for them is LinkedIn. We do their LinkedIn, their Facebook page. And my client wrote, I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the outstanding work that Heidi Schmidt Creative has done for client over the years. I've been working with them since probably like 2022, so almost 3 years. Thanks to your efforts, we've not only gained over 1,000 credible followers within our niche industry, they're super niche, they're biosafety consulting, but you've also played a key role in building a reputation as high-performing business that contributes to the U.S. economy. I'm excited to share that I was recently contacted by blah, blah, blah office within the state, and they're nominating blah, blah, blah for blah, blah, blah. There's some stuff that I can't share there. Over the past 2 years, I've had the privilege of working closely with this office to expand our business. While our direct interactions are infrequent, I can clearly see that our relationship continues to grow as they actively follow our successes on LinkedIn. I truly believe that this ongoing visibility and presence, particularly in the minds of the blah, blah, blah employees, would not have been possible without your consistent and impactful social media posts. Being recognized is an honor in itself, and I'm confident that your work has helped keep our brand at the forefront of their thoughts, strengthening our reputation even further. Mind blown. One, I need to be like talking about this everywhere because those are some pretty powerful words. And it's also not just about me, but the power of LinkedIn. So much power behind LinkedIn. And, I say this all the time and it feels a little kitschy almost, but part of any social media strategy is just showing up consistently. Like it all starts with that. It starts with like, if you don't have the content strategy yet, like, you just gotta show up. That's step 1. Step 2, then you dive into, like, the strategy behind it all, But if you have a strategy and you can't even execute it, then, like, what are you even doing? So, I kind of tapped on this earlier is, the whole ickiness behind thought leadership and how everyone feels like they're a thought leader. And it's true, like everyone does feel like they're a thought leader, right? Not everyone is a thought leader. And ultimately, building that thought leadership on LinkedIn comes down to showing up consistently, being authentic, and sharing your unique perspective about what your audience needs to hear from you. That's all it is. And you can call yourself a thought leader or not, but if you're consistently sharing that needed content, the content that your audience needs to hear from you, then consider yourself a thought leader. You're an expert in your subject matter. Why not call yourself that? Anyhow, it's funny because, and the last bit on this, I'm going to just kind of talk because one of my clients and I were recently having a conversation with this, should I focus on my company page or my personal page? Which one matters more? And really, a personal profile is always going to drive more engagement because people connect with people. They don't necessarily connect with business pages because business pages feel salesy, right? They're useful for that credibility and ads, but they typically have lower organic reach. That's just a fact. So if you're new to LinkedIn, focus on building that personal brand first and building that quote unquote thought leadership, and then create that company page for validation. And I'll be honest, my business does not have a company page on LinkedIn. It is all me. But then I am the face of the business. So I feel like I barely have my Schmidt together anyhow when it comes to my own social media. So, I've really focused on building my personal brand and my personal expertise more so than I have my company page. Eventually, I'll set up a company page, but for now, my personal page works perfectly fine. I will say you do not get the analytics from a personal page. And if you want to build that brand awareness, then you can certainly do some LinkedIn advertising. They have some pretty inexpensive opportunities, especially for brand awareness, which is new. I think that just rolled out last year. There was a client that I was working with through another agency that was experimenting with some LinkedIn brand awareness advertising, and it worked for them. They were certainly getting more hits. Sometimes they weren't always their ideal audience, but sometimes they were. And that's really what makes it worth it. So if you have a LinkedIn profile and you're like, how do I utilize this better for my business? One, make sure your profile is optimized. That starts with, your professional photo. That's your profile photo. First impressions always matter. Have a clear headline that's optimized. Make sure your keywords are in there. Explain who you help and how. Have an engaging about section. Tell a story, not just your resume. Don't just share your resume. Meh. And then have a custom LinkedIn URL. Make sure you share it on your website. Make sure you share it on your other profiles. And then have a consistent posting schedule. Whether it's 2 days, whether it's 5 days, whether it's 1 day, whatever it is, just be consistent. That's the biggest thing. I love LinkedIn for some of my clients, for most of my clients. I think there's huge opportunity there. And if you want a stronger strategy, I am certainly here to help talk about what that strategy is, especially to help you look at the content that you currently have and how do you repurpose that for LinkedIn? Because, a call to action on Instagram is not going to be the same call. You can repurpose some of that content. You probably don't need the hooks the way that we need them on LinkedIn to stop that scroll. So they need a little tweaking, but that's fine. So you can always schedule a strategy session with me, or you can get an audit of your LinkedIn profile. I am always happy to do audits. I will link to those in the show notes. Feel free to connect with me. Connect with me on LinkedIn, connect with me on Instagram, wherever you want to connect, and let me know what you implemented. If you're just hey, hold me accountable to create content regularly, 100%, I'll engage with your content and I'll keep you accountable 100%. If you're on LinkedIn and you have seen some success on LinkedIn, especially from newsletters and articles, let me know. I want to hear that. I have not experimented with those, but I do think that there's a huge opportunity there. So yeah, I want to hear what your LinkedIn stories are. Feel free to send me an email, share them with me on LinkedIn. Leave a review for the podcast, share this episode, or send in future questions for a future episode. I can't believe, one, that we're already in March. I had a client say to me the other day that January felt like it was 87 years long and February felt like it was 15 minutes. And February had somewhere to be. Girlfriend had somewhere to be, it flew by. So I feel like half of February I spent recovering from my January, which was such a blur and I was such an emotional mess for everything that I was dealing with, both personally, professionally, and February, ain't got time for that. So we're in March. I can't believe we're already in March. But that means that our 1-year podcast anniversary is 6 or so episodes away. And I would love to do a fun themed episode of Ask Me Anything and answer reader questions. So I'm going to set a kind of questionnaire in the show notes. So feel free to drop your pressing marketing questions. This is if there's something that you're dealing with in marketing, granted, this episode probably won't come out until April, so it better not be timely. If it is timely and you want to schedule a strategy session, you can always do that in the show notes. Connect with me 100%. But I want to answer the listener questions in an upcoming episode before our 1-year anniversary, which is so exciting. It coincides also with our 5-year business anniversary, which is woohoo! Anyhow, thank you so much for listening. Again, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I look forward to seeing what you're doing on LinkedIn to stop the scroll.